You should be thankful, Wesley. Not everyone gets a sister like Bridget. My mother said it while folding laundry in her living room, her voice light, almost cheerful, like she was commenting on the weather and not explaining why my sister was getting our grandmother's entire estate while I got nothing. I stood in the doorway with the will in my hand, the document I'd driven 3 hours to discuss, the paper that made it clear I didn't matter as much as I'd spent 37 years pretending not to notice. Thankful, I repeated. Yes, she's accomplished so much, and she'll use the inheritance wisely. You understand, don't you? I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who'd raised me to be grateful for scraps while my sister got the whole meal, who'd taught me that wanting things for myself was selfish, but wanting things for Bridget was just common sense. I understand perfectly, I said, and I did. I understood that I'd spent my entire life being the supporting actor in someone else's story. I understood that no matter what I did, I'd never be chosen, never be enough, never be Bridget. So I thanked her. I said it with a smile that felt like broken glass in my mouth. Thank you, Mom, for making everything so clear. Then I walked out of her house and never went back. But that moment, that quiet exit, wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of what happened when I finally stopped being thankful for being invisible. My name is Wesley Tate, and I'm 37 years old. I work as a civil engineer in Sacramento, designing water systems and infrastructure projects that keep cities running. It's steady work, important work, the kind that doesn't make headlines but matters deeply. My sister Bridget is 41. She's a corporate consultant who travels the world giving speeches about leadership and innovation. She has a TED Talk. She's been featured in magazines. She makes more in a month than I make in a year. Our grandmother, Dorothy Tate, passed away in February at 93. She'd been sharp until the end, living independently, managing her own finances, making her own decisions. When she died, I grieved her the way you grieve someone who actually saw you. She was the one person in my family who'd asked about my work, who'd remembered my birthday without Facebook reminding her, who'd told me she was proud of me when I got my professional engineering license. The will reading was scheduled for April. I drove up to Reading where my parents lived, where Bridget flew in from Boston, where we all gathered in a lawyer's office that smelled like old paper and furniture polish. The lawyer, a man named Howard with wire-rimmed glasses, read through the formalities. Assets, accounts, property. Then he got to the distribution. To my granddaughter Bridget Tate, I leave my home, my investment portfolio, and all remaining assets, totaling approximately $1.2 million. I felt the air leave the room. Bridget smiled. My mother reached over and squeezed her hand. Howard continued. To my grandson Wesley Tate, I leave my collection of gardening books and my gratitude for his kindness over the years. Gardening books. Not even the garden itself, which was part of the property going to Bridget. Just books. The meeting ended. Everyone stood. Bridget hugged my mother. My father clapped her on the shoulder. No one looked at me. I waited until we were outside to ask my mother about it. Did Grandma tell you she was doing this? Yes. She wanted Bridget to have security. You know how much Grandma admired her. And me. My mother blinked. What about you? Did she admire me? Of course she did, Wesley. She just knew Bridget needed it more. Bridget makes $600,000 a year. I make 80. Money isn't everything. Bridget has expenses, travel, image. Her career requires investment. And mine doesn't? My mother frowned. Are you really going to be petty about this? She's your sister. That word, petty. Like wanting to be treated equally was a character flaw. I'm not being petty. I'm trying to understand why I got nothing. You got the books. She knew you liked gardening. I helped her maintain that garden for 10 years. Every weekend, I fixed her irrigation system, rebuilt her raised beds, planted her vegetables. Bridget visited twice a year for holidays. And she had a busy career. Grandma understood that. I looked at her, at my father standing beside her nodding slightly, at Bridget on her phone already texting someone about the inheritance. Right? I said quietly. She understood. I drove to my parents' house afterward. Bridget was staying there for the week. My mother made dinner, pot roast and potatoes, the kind of meal that should feel like comfort but just felt heavy. "Wesley, can you set the table?" my mother asked. I did, like always, while Bridget sat in the living room taking a work call, her voice confident and commanding, the kind of voice people pay to hear. During dinner, the conversation revolved around her. Her latest consulting project. Her upcoming keynote in Dubai. The board position she'd been offered. My father beamed. "That's incredible, Bridget. You're really making a name for yourself." "Thanks, Dad. It's been a lot of work, but it's paying off." My mother turned to me. "Wesley, how's work?" "Good. We just completed a water reclamation project that's going to serve 50,000 people." "That's nice." She turned back to Bridget. "Tell us more about Dubai." That was my life, condensed into 2 words. "That's nice." After dinner, I helped clean up while Bridget took another call. My mother washed dishes I dried. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why do you think Grandma left everything to Bridget?" She paused, hands in soapy water. "Because Bridget is special. You know that. And I'm not." "Don't twist my words. You're wonderful, Wesley. But Bridget has this spark, this drive. She's going to change the world." "What am I going to do?" She looked at me, surprised by the question. "You're going to be fine. You always are. You don't need the same kind of support she does." "Because I don't ask for it?" "Because you don't need it." She handed me a plate. "You should be thankful, actually. Not everyone gets a sister like Bridget. Her success reflects well on all of us." There it was, the core belief that had shaped my entire life. Bridget's success was a family achievement. My success was just me being fine. "Right?" I said. "I should be thankful." "Exactly." She smiled, relieved. "I knew you'd understand." I finished drying the dishes in silence. Each plate a small surrender. Each glass a tiny erasure. I stayed one more night. In the morning, I found Bridget alone in the kitchen, making coffee in leggings and a sweatshirt, looking more human than she had during dinner. "Hey," she said. "Want some?" "Sure." She poured me a cup. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we'd eaten breakfast as kids, where I'd helped her with homework, where she'd practiced her debate team arguments. "So," she said, "you okay with Grandma's will? Does it matter if I'm not?" She shrugged. "I mean, I could share some of it with you if you want. If you need help with something." "I don't need charity, Bridget." "It's not charity. It's family." I looked at her. "Did you know she was leaving you everything?" "She mentioned it a few years ago. Said she wanted to make sure I could maintain her legacy." "Her legacy?" "Yeah. She was really proud of what I'd accomplished. She said she wanted her money to go towards something meaningful. And what I do isn't meaningful." Bridget frowned. "That's not what I said. But it's what Grandma thought." "Wesley, come on. You're a civil engineer. That's great. But I'm literally shaping corporate policy across multiple continents. The scale is different." "The scale of impact or the scale of ego?" Her expression hardened. "What's your problem?" "My problem is that I spent 10 years helping Grandma maintain her home and garden. I drove up every other weekend. I fixed her plumbing, her electrical, her fence. I was there. And when she died, I got a stack of books." "So you're mad about money?" "I'm mad about being invisible. About doing the work and watching you collect the credit. About being told I should be grateful you exist." "Wow." She stood. "I didn't realize you were this bitter." "I'm not bitter. I'm just done pretending this is normal." "What's not normal?" "Grandma leaving her estate to the person she thought would use it best." "No. What's not normal is a family that values image over effort. Performance over presence." She stared at me. "You know what? Maybe Grandma was right. Maybe you're not ready for that kind of responsibility. Maybe you're exactly where you should be." The words hit like a slap. Not because they were true, but because she believed them. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Maybe I am." I left the kitchen, packed my bag, and by the time anyone woke up, I was already on the highway headed home. I didn't call for 2 weeks. When my mother finally reached out, her voice was tight with irritation. Wesley, you left without saying goodbye. I said goodbye to Bridget. She said you were rude. I was honest. Well, it hurt her feelings. She's been very upset. I'm sorry she's upset. Are you? Because you don't sound sorry. I took a breath. Mom, I need to ask you something. And I need you to answer honestly. Okay. Do you think I'm as important as Bridget? Silence. Wesley, that's not a fair question. Yes, it is. Do you value me as much as you value her? You're both my children. I love you both. That's not what I asked. More silence. Then, carefully, you're different people. You need different things. Bridget needs more support because her life is more complex. Because her career is more impressive. That's not what Mom, just say it. You think she's more valuable than me. That's not true. I think she's more accomplished. But that doesn't mean you're not important. I felt something settle in my chest. Not anger. Acceptance. Okay, I said. Okay. Yeah, I understand now. Thank you for being honest. Wesley, don't. I have to go, Mom. I'll talk to you later. I hung up and sat in my apartment, looking out at the Sacramento skyline, and made a decision. I was done. Done trying to prove my worth to people who'd already decided I didn't have any. Done waiting to be chosen. Done being grateful for being ignored. I stopped calling. Stopped visiting. Stopped showing up to family events with a smile and a willingness to be background noise. When my mother's birthday came in June, I sent a card. Just a card. No visit, no gift, no elaborate effort. She called. You're not coming. No. Why not? Because I don't want to. Wesley, I don't understand what's gotten into you. I'm just done making an effort that isn't reciprocated. That's ridiculous. We've always appreciated you. No, you've always tolerated me. There's a difference. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. And apparently, that makes people uncomfortable. She hung up. I felt nothing. Just the quiet relief of not having to pretend anymore. Thanksgiving came. I didn't go. Christmas. Easter. Each holiday I skipped felt like shedding weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. My father called once. Your mother's hurt. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because you're acting like we don't exist. I'm acting like I have my own life. Which I do. Family is supposed to come first. Bridget comes first. I come somewhere after that. I'm just acknowledging reality. He hung up without responding. 3 years went by. I built a life that didn't include them. I dated someone seriously, a woman named Miranda who worked in urban planning. We understood each other, the quiet satisfaction of work that mattered even when no one noticed. I got promoted to senior engineer, led a team on a flood mitigation project that saved the city millions. Won an award from the State Engineering Society. I didn't tell my family. Not out of spite, but because their validation didn't matter anymore. Bridget's career stalled. I heard through a mutual colleague that her consulting firm had lost several major clients, that her TED Talk had been criticized as out of touch, that she'd been passed over for the board position she'd wanted. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sympathy. Just distance. Then my mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there, older, smaller, carrying a box. Mom! Wesley! Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked past me, set the box on my kitchen counter, and turned to face me. I brought you something. I looked in the box. Photo albums, old report cards, awards I'd won in school that I'd forgotten existed. What is this? Your childhood. I've been going through the house, organizing things, and I realized. She trailed off. I realized I didn't have many photos of you. Not like I do of Bridget. Not because I didn't love you, but because she was always doing things worth photographing. Mom! Let me finish. Her voice cracked. I spent 37 years telling you to be grateful for your sister, to support her, to step aside so she could shine. And you did. You were so good at it that I forgot you needed to shine too. She pulled out a photo. Me at 10 holding a blue ribbon from the science fair. She stared at it like she'd never seen it before. I don't remember this, she whispered. I don't remember being there. But I must have been, right? I must have gone to your science fair. You went, I said quietly. You left early to take Bridget to dance practice. Oh God. She sank into a chair. Wesley, I don't know how to fix this. You can't. She looked up, tears streaming. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know that I see it now. What I did. What I took from you. Why now? What changed? Bridget doesn't need me anymore. Her career is struggling, and she's pulled away. And your father and I are getting older, and I look around and realize. You're not here. You haven't been here for 3 years. And it's because of me. I sat across from her. You told me I should be thankful Bridget was chosen. Do you remember that? She nodded, face crumpling. I do. And I am thankful. Because it showed me I was never going to be enough for you. And that freed me. I don't want to be free of you, she whispered. I want my son back. The son who stepped aside? Who made himself small. He's gone, Mom. He had to go so I could become someone who didn't need your approval. I'm so sorry. I looked at her, at the woman who'd shaped my childhood, who'd taught me to doubt my worth, who was now asking for something I wasn't sure I could give. I don't know if I can let you back in, I said. Not the way it was before. I don't want it the way it was before. I want to know you, the real you, not the version I created. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I said, I won a state engineering award last year. You did? Yeah. For a project that's going to protect thousands of homes from flooding. Wesley, that's incredible. It is. I paused. And I didn't tell you because I knew you'd find a way to make it about Bridget. About how her work is more impressive. Or you'd tell me I should be grateful I have such a successful sister to look up to. She closed her eyes. I would have. You're right. So if we're going to try this, it has to be different. You have to see me. Not as Bridget's brother, not as the easy one, not as the supporting character. Me. I want to. I swear I want to. Then start by looking at those photos. Really looking. And remembering that I was there too. That I mattered too. That I still matter. She opened the album, hands shaking, and started looking. Really looking. Reconciliation wasn't immediate. It was slow, careful, built on small moments rather than grand gestures. My mother started calling. Not often, but regularly. She asked about my work, and when I answered, she didn't change the subject to Bridget. She listened. My father came around too, stiffer, more awkward, but present. He asked to see my award. I showed him. He held it for a long time, tracing the engraving with his finger. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. You never said that before. I know. I should have. Bridget and I didn't reconcile. We weren't enemies, just strangers connected by DNA and history. She sent a brief email congratulating me on my award. I sent one back when she landed a new client. We were civil, distant, fine. But my parents, we were trying. Slowly, imperfectly, but trying. My mother came to Sacramento to visit. I showed her around my neighborhood, introduced her to Quinn, took her to dinner. She didn't mention Bridget once. Just asked about my life, my work, my plans. I'm buying a house, I told her. Putting in an offer next week. That's wonderful, Wesley. I'm so happy for you. And she meant it. I could tell. I'm 41 now. I bought the house. Quinn and I got engaged. My parents came to visit, helped me plant a garden in the backyard, sat on my porch and drank coffee and talked about normal things. Bridget wasn't there. She's rebuilding her career on the East Coast. And we exchange occasional emails but nothing more. And I'm okay with that. Because I learned something crucial in those years of distance. You can't make people see you. You can only decide whether to stay visible to yourself. My mother will never be perfect. She still sometimes mentions Bridget's accomplishments with a note of pride that stings. But she catches herself now, apologizes, tries again, and that's enough. Not because she's earned forgiveness, but because I've earned peace. Here's what I learned. Being told you should be grateful for being overlooked is not love. It's manipulation. Being told your sibling deserves more because they shine brighter is not fairness. It's favoritism dressed up as reason. And being told you're not as important, not as valuable, not as worthy, that's not truth. That's someone else's failure to see you. I walked away from my family for 3 years. And in that absence, I found something more valuable than any inheritance. Myself. Not the version who stepped aside. Not the version who smiled through erasure. The version who knew his worth even when no one else did. If you've ever been told to be grateful for being second place, I want you to hear this. You don't have to be. You can walk away. You can build something new. You can choose yourself. And maybe, if you're lucky, the people who took you for granted will finally see what they lost. But even if they don't, you'll still have you. And that's more than enough. Have you ever been the forgotten child in your family? The one expected to be grateful for crumbs? Tell me your story in the comments. And if this resonated, subscribe. Because there are more stories about finding your worth, even when everyone around you tries to diminish it. You're too independent anyway, Jasper. You don't need us like your brother does. My mother said it on the phone while I was sitting in my car outside the mechanic's shop, waiting to hear how much my transmission repair would cost. I called to ask if she could lend me $500, just until my next paycheck. The first time I'd asked for help in 8 years. Too independent, I repeated. Yes, you've always been so self-sufficient. Callum needs support. You understand, right? I looked through the windshield at the gray Minnesota sky, at the mechanic wiping his hands on a rag, at the bill in his hand that I already knew I couldn't afford. Right? I said. I understand. Good. I knew you would. You're so mature about these things. I hung up, sold my laptop to cover the repair, and made a decision that would reshape the next 6 years of my life. If I was too independent to help, then I'd be too independent to ask. Ever again. What I didn't expect was that once I stopped being available as the backup plan, my family would realize they'd been using me as the foundation the whole time. And when I finally removed myself, everything they'd built came crashing down. My name is Jasper Whitlock, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a freelance graphic designer in Minneapolis, running my own small studio from a converted warehouse space I share with 3 other creatives. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. My younger brother Callum is 30. He's an aspiring musician, which is code for unemployed but with expensive equipment. He lives in our parents' basement in Duluth, has for the past 5 years, recording music that no one listens to and waiting for his big break. Growing up, I was the easy kid, the one who did his homework without reminding, who got a job at 15, who paid for his own car, his own college, his own life. I didn't complain because I genuinely liked being independent. It felt good to rely on myself. Callum was different. He needed help with everything. School projects, job applications, rent payments, grocery money. And my parents gave it to him endlessly because he asked. I didn't ask, so I didn't get. It became the family narrative. Jasper's got it together. Jasper doesn't need anything. Jasper's fine. And I was fine. Until I wasn't. The transmission died on a Tuesday. I'd been driving to a client meeting when the car just stopped. Smoke, grinding sounds, the works. The tow alone cost me $200 I barely had. The mechanic gave it to me straight. Transmission's gone. Repair will run about $1,500, maybe more. I did the math in my head. Rent was due in 5 days. I had $800 in my account. 2 invoices outstanding but clients who paid notoriously late. I needed that car to meet clients, to transport equipment, to work. I called my parents. My mother answered on the 3rd ring. Jasper, how are you, honey? Hey, Mom. I'm okay. But I need to ask you something. Of course. What is it? I explained the situation. The car, the transmission, the timing. I just need $500 to cover part of it. I can pay you back in 2 weeks when my clients pay. Oh, honey. That's terrible timing. I know. But I really need the car for work. I understand. It's just. She paused. We just helped Callum with his rent this month. And his credit card was maxed out again, so we paid that off too. We're a bit tight ourselves. This is the first time I've asked for help in 8 years, Mom. I know, and I feel bad. But Callum needs so much support right now. He's really struggling. Though, you're so capable. You'll figure something out. You always do. What if I can't? You will. You're too independent anyway. You don't need us like your brother does. The words landed like stones. Too independent. As if self-sufficiency was a character flaw that disqualified me from help. Right? I said quietly. I understand. I knew you would. You're so mature about these things. I hung up, stared at the mechanic's estimate, and felt something fundamental shift inside me. They didn't help me because I didn't need it. But I did need it. I just didn't fall apart loudly enough for them to notice. So I sold my laptop, the one I used for design work, for $700. Borrowed an old desktop from a friend. Got the transmission fixed. And promised myself I would never ask them for anything again. Over the next year, I watched my parents bail Callum out of situation after situation. His car insurance lapsed. They paid it. His phone got shut off. They covered it. He borrowed money for recording studio time and never paid it back. He needed a new guitar, new software, new gear, always new things for a career that existed only in his imagination. And my parents gave. Not because they were rich, they weren't, but because Callum asked. Because he needed them. Because his crises were loud and immediate. Meanwhile, I quietly ground through my own struggles. When my laptop finally died, I saved for 3 months to replace it. When my health insurance lapsed, I went without for 6 months until I could afford a new plan. When my apartment's heat stopped working in January, I wore 3 layers and used space heaters I bought with grocery money. I didn't tell my parents any of this. Why would I? I was too independent to need help. They called occasionally, always about Callum. Your brother's having a hard time, my mother would say. Maybe you could talk to him? Give him some advice. About what? About being responsible. About making it work. You're so good at that. So I was good enough to mentor him but not good enough to help directly. Got it. The real breaking point came 2 years after the transmission incident. My father called on a Sunday morning. Jasper, we need to talk about Callum. What happened? He got into some trouble. Financial trouble. He owes someone money, and they're threatening to take legal action. How much? $7,000. I nearly dropped the phone. 7,000? For what? He bought equipment on credit. Said he'd pay it back when his music took off. Obviously that hasn't happened. So what do you want me to do? We're trying to help him, but we don't have that kind of cash lying around. We thought maybe you could contribute? A few thousand. I laughed. Actually laughed. Dad, you told me 2 years ago I was too independent to need help when my transmission died. Now you want me to contribute thousands to bail out Callum. That was different. How? Your situation was manageable. This is serious. He could get sued. And I could have lost my car and my livelihood. But I was too capable, remember? Silence. Then, are you really going to hold that against us now? When your brother needs help. I'm not holding anything against you. I'm just not available to fix problems for someone who's never learned to fix his own. He's your brother. And I'm your son. But apparently, that only matters when you need something from me. I hung up. My father called back 3 times. I didn't answer. After that call, I stopped engaging. No more Sunday check-ins. No more advice sessions. No more being the responsible example they could point to while enabling Callum's dysfunction. My mother left voicemails. Jasper, honey, please call back. We need to talk about this. You're being unreasonable. Unreasonable. Another word for boundaries. They figured out Callum's debt somehow I never asked. And life continued. Just without me in it. Months passed. I threw myself into work. Expanded my client base. Hired an assistant. Moved into a better studio space. Thrived, actually, now that I wasn't carrying the emotional weight of being the responsible one who never got recognized for it. I started dating someone, a woman named Ramona who taught high school art. She asked about my family once. I gave her the basics. They're in Duluth. We're not close. Why not? Because I was too good at not needing them. She frowned. That doesn't make sense. It does if you've been the easy kid your whole life. Easy kids get forgotten. Difficult ones get attention. She kissed my forehead. You deserve better than that. I know. That's why I left. The crisis. 3 years after I'd stopped being available, my mother showed up at my studio unannounced. I was in the middle of a design review when my assistant knocked on my door. There's a woman here to see you. Says she's your mom. I found her in the waiting area, looking smaller than I remembered. Older. Her hands twisted around her purse strap. Mom! Jasper! Her voice cracked. We need to talk. I led her to my office, closed the door. What's going on? It's your brother. She took a shaky breath. He's in trouble again. Real trouble this time. What kind of trouble? He tried to start a business. Some kind of online music platform. He took out loans, maxed out credit cards, convinced us to co-sign for more. And it all fell apart. We're being sued. We could lose the house. I sat back in my chair. How much? 40,000. Maybe more with legal fees. Jesus. I know. And Jasper, I know I have no right to ask, but we need help. Your father's health isn't good. The stress is killing him. We can't lose our home. And you're the only one who's stable enough to what? Bail you out. To help your family. I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the desperation in her eyes. The plea in her voice. And I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction. Just distance. Where's Callum? Still at the house. He's devastated. He didn't mean for this to happen. He never does. But it keeps happening. Jasper, please. I'm begging you. You told me I was too independent to help. Remember? When my transmission died and I needed $500, you told me I'd figure it out because I didn't need you like Callum did. That was different. No, it wasn't. It was the same pattern. Callum needs, so he gets. I handle my own problems, so I'm invisible. Well, guess what? I'm still handling my own problems. And this isn't mine. We're your parents. He's your brother. And for 30 years, I've been the afterthought. The one who didn't need anything, so he didn't get anything. Now you're in crisis and suddenly I'm family again. That's not fair. Fair would have been treating me like I mattered before you needed something from me. Fair would have been acknowledging that just because I didn't fall apart didn't mean I didn't struggle. But you didn't. So now you get what you taught me. Independence. She started crying. I don't know what to do. Neither do I. But I'm not giving you $40,000 to fix a mess that's been 30 years in the making. So you're just going to let us lose everything? No. You're going to let you lose everything. Because you chose this. You chose Callum over me 1,000 times. You chose enabling over accountability. You chose immediate crisis over long-term relationship. This is the consequence. She stood, shaking. I never thought you could be this cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm being exactly what you told me to be. Independent. She left without another word. They lost the house. Downsized to a small rental across town. Callum moved out, finally, to a friend's couch somewhere. My father's health deteriorated from stress. My mother stopped calling. I heard all this through my aunt, my mother's sister, who'd reached out to tell me she understood why I'd done what I'd done. Your mother never saw it, she said over coffee one afternoon. The way she treated you versus Callum. Some of us saw it. But she couldn't. Do you think she sees it now? I think she's starting to. Losing everything has a way of clarifying things. I nodded. Felt something that might have been sadness. Or just fatigue. Do you regret it? My aunt asked. Not helping them? Yes. I thought about it carefully. No. I regret that it had to come to that. But I don't regret protecting myself. That's fair. 2 years passed. I heard occasional updates. My parents were managing in their rental. Callum had gotten a regular job, some warehouse thing. My father's health had stabilized. I didn't reach out. Didn't apologize. Didn't make the first move. Then my father called. Not my mother. Him. Jasper. It's Dad. I know. Can we talk? In person. Why? Because I owe you an apology. And I need to say it to your face. We met at a coffee shop in Minneapolis, neutral territory. He looked older, grayer, worn down by years of consequences. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I waited. I've been thinking about what you said, about being too independent, about how we treated you versus Callum. He paused. You were right. About what? All of it. We took advantage of the fact that you didn't ask for help. We told ourselves you didn't need it, but really we just found it easier to help Callum because he made it impossible to ignore. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm sorry. Your mother is too, but she doesn't know how to say it. She's ashamed. We both are. You should be. He nodded. We should. And I'm not asking you to forgive us or to come back or to give us money. I just wanted you to know that we see it now. What we did. What we cost you. I felt something crack in my chest. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. What happened to Callum? He's working. Actually working. No more music dreams. No more schemes. He's got a job, an apartment, a girlfriend who doesn't tolerate his nonsense. Losing everything forced him to grow up. And you? We're learning to live with less. With what we can actually afford, not what we convinced ourselves we needed to give your brother. We talked for another hour. About small things. About his health, my work, safe topics. When we parted, he hugged me. I hope someday you'll let us try again. Not the old way. A new way. Maybe, I said. But it'll take time. I understand. I'm 39 now. My relationship with my parents is cordial but distant. We talk occasionally, see each other once or twice a year. They've met Ramona. They congratulated me when I opened a second studio location. They're trying. Slowly, imperfectly, but trying. Callum and I barely speak. There's no animosity, just absence. We're strangers who happen to share DNA. And I'm okay with that. Because I learned something crucial. Independence isn't a flaw. It's a survival skill I developed because I had to. But choosing when to be independent versus when to be available. That's power. And I'm not giving that power to people who've proven they'll abuse it. Here's what I learned. Being called too independent is code for too inconvenient to help. When someone tells you you don't need them, what they're really saying is they don't want to show up for you. And when you finally believe them, when you stop asking and stop being available, they realize too late that you weren't independent by choice. You were independent by necessity. My mother said I was too independent to help. So I became too independent to return. And the family that took me for granted lost more than money. They lost me. If you've ever been told you're too capable to need support, I want you to hear this. You deserve help even when you can handle things alone. Being strong doesn't disqualify you from being loved. Have you ever been the easy kid who got forgotten because you didn't fall apart? Tell me your story in the comments. And subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries, protecting yourself, and refusing to be taken for granted just because you're strong enough to survive it.